Hello, friends. It's been a little while since I uh, made a video for you, and there are reasons for that. I've been helping a friend with some time-sensitive um, work that he's been doing, and that took priority for a while. And I've got my own time-sensitive work, but what I've decided to do is to put more focus on this effort, my YouTube channel, and related means of sharing information with you. And I don't know how it will turn out, but we'll try it. We'll give it a shot and we'll see if I can monetize it. And it doesn't have to be a 6 or 7 figure business right off the bat, but maybe eventually it'll turn into that. And that's all I have to say about that. I will be introducing um, more ways of sharing information with you, and I'm going to try to reach out to people. Excuse me a moment. I have a voice issue here. Okay, that's better. Um, I muted myself so you didn't have to hear that. Um, my policy is not to edit my videos, so you get that. Um, included, yeah. I am human, and what I really don't like, I appreciate when people make videos. Like I saw one of Senator Kennedy from Louisiana speaking in Congress, and the audio was very smooth. There were no big pauses. There were no throat clearings or whatever, no background noise to speak of, and so on. And so the audio was great, but you would see in one frame he'd be looking like this and reading something, and then instantly looking up or looking that way, so it was jump cut type editing as far as the visuals went. And I don't like that. I want it to be more natural most of the time. I may, at some point, do jump cut editing, especially for, let's say, short videos when I start posting those. But for these longer form videos, you get what you get. If it's too terribly bad, something really unexpected and jarring happens, then I might edit that out. But in general, I will try to uh, make it as if I'm having a conversation with you. So what I want to do today is go to my Facebook, because on my personal profile, I've been posting some longer form things. And I don't know that that's the greatest idea, really, but regardless, I've done it. And I want to share a couple of those posts. Actually, I think if I have time, I'll include 3 of them here. And the first one relates to a video, UFO Hysteria in New Jersey. And you might have noticed that the whole subject matter seemed to instantly disappear from the internet, um, almost completely, as soon as the White House had something to say about it. And I think that was the effect that was desired on the part of the government. They're not telling the truth, but I'll forgive it as a white lie in this case. So that's my opinion. Okay. Now, everything you hear on this channel, by the way, is an opinion. Some of it's beliefs. Okay. I mean, there are opinions that I came by honestly, and I do my best to be responsible to my own self and to the human species in formulating opinions. And I try to include um, as much vetted, verified, or at least what I consider credible information as possible in working toward the formation of my opinions. This is really important to me. I think some people are very casual about it. Some are very serious. I'm on the serious side. Anyway, here's what this post says. Did you notice concerning the drones that they were a hot topic a month ago? Excuse me. And the subject is hardly being mentioned in discussion now on the internet. And of course, those drones were not just present in New Jersey, but they've been all over, all over the country, all over the planet. Did they just suddenly disappear? Or did we just suddenly stop hearing about them? Well, they didn't just suddenly disappear. The White House issued a pronouncement about them that effectively removed attention from them so that our attention could be placed on other things, mainly American politics. And I feel, or I noticed, or I believe, that a sense of relief swept over everyone, not literally everyone, but a great many people. And that was relief to the effect that we no longer have to worry about that weird stuff going on in the sky. We can now start paying due attention to Donald Trump versus the swamp, that drama in Washington, and the ways in which the current administration is now transforming our world, our country, and our world. And so for drama fans, it could be said to be Trump versus the swamp. For Trump fans, it's mostly about Trump. For swamp fans, and believe me, there are a lot of them, 40% of Americans, 30%, it's mostly about the swamp. And that evil, evil Trump and his evil sidekick, Musk. But in any case, the drones conundrum suddenly and very effectively was faded into the background. It did not fade just on its own, it was faded. And we all, or most of us, happily went along with that. Have you noticed how that worked? A few minutes ago, this was written yesterday at 4:42 in the morning, my local time. I get up early, folks. So I wrote a few minutes ago, I checked YouTube and found one live stream and that was currently running, and the subject of discussion was the drones. It's not really a live stream, it's something that is presented as such, but it's a video being run on repeat, I found out. Anyway, the drones are still doing their thing, still garnering the attention of individuals, but not of the MSM or even a significant slice of the alternative media. The live stream that is featured, which of course I'll be posting a link to in the description of this video, which would be that way from your perspective, I think. Anyway, the live stream is examining the question, are they UFOs or aliens? Let's say, for the sake of argument, there was evidence a month ago that some of them were of non-human origin. That evidence didn't just suddenly and completely vanish. And it certainly wasn't retroactively eliminated by a mere high-level assertion, from government. It wasn't wiped out of our reality by a few words issuing from Carolyn Leavitt's mouth on behalf of the White House including Donald Trump, of course, he being, the White House kind of refers to him and his staff. Oh, yes, I am completely convinced that another official untruth was told, this time with the consent of the current president. However, I'm also convinced that it was a white lie, serving a potent psychological purpose, and it was very effective. Congratulations to whoever's, meaning the people who decided that what was said should be said. I'm convinced a deal was struck somewhere behind the scenes that served the best interests of all parties. A win-win-win-win-win situation was created for multiple parties. No one twisted my arm or yours to take our attention away from drones, also known as UFOs, or at least some of them were, or from the perspective of people who listened to certain information sources, identified aircraft and transmedium craft. Some of them were observed coming out of the ocean, as you may remember. So it's appropriate here and now that I remind us all of the Galactic Federation of Worlds intel, which is as follows. A hierarchy of technology is involved. There are plasma orbs originating with the Intergalactic Confederation. It's their technology, and these orbs are conscious. There are also metal ships of three configurations, globes, cylinders, and disc-shaped, which are Galactic Federation of Worlds technology. Additionally, there are deep state military and corporate human-made drones, those having been launched to observe the foregoing, the flying objects, most or all of them unpiloted, at least not containing their pilots, let's say. So these human-made drones were launched to observe those and to confuse the issue for civilian watchers. And we can see how effectively the issue was confused by simply saying that they were all human-made, right? The crafters of official narratives evidently aren't ready for us to confront the ET realities just yet. A deal must have been struck between those with admirable intent, possibly including the benevolent ETs themselves, and those with less than admirable intent. The result is public. Place your attention elsewhere, at least for the time being. So I had my say about that. Thank you for listening. Now, there was another subject that came up, which was was about the identified spacecraft flyover at the GSIC conference, Galactic Spiritual Informers Connection, 2024 conference in Westminster, Colorado on September 27th, 2024. And this flyover was in part captured on video and in photographs, and it was witnessed by about 1,000 people. So what inspired me to make this post was reading a channel on Telegram that I subscribe to, and someone wrote this, and I quote, "Since all the testimonies of the flyover have been published, um, there's a certain number that have been published because they were elicited by Elena Danaan. Anyway, since all the testimonies, I have not been able to be silent about the truth anymore. I have held my tongue for several decades. I'm now losing friends as in they look to me to be a guide, but when I speak now they back away. Kind of the story of my life, but so much bigger now," end quote. So I think the gist of that is pretty clear, right? And my comments are as follows. Truth versus falsehood has separated many people who were formerly good friends, and it has caused family members to become estranged. The issue has many permutations, of course. Sometimes, and perhaps always, it refers to perceptions and beliefs. For example, one person who was raised, let's say, Catholic, decides to become a Protestant, an atheist, a pagan, or whatever, and their devout family and friends don't understand. They think the convert is wrong, that the person is being disloyal to God, Jesus, Mary, and the Pope, or whatever. You know, it could be a different religious organization. I'm not picking on Catholics. So an interpersonal schism develops, but there are also more objective variants. So not about a belief system based on some scriptures or a set of claims by a contemporary teacher, perhaps. There are some issues that can be decided on the basis of evidence. For example, consider Carl Sagan's famous statement, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Few will argue with that point. However, I'd like to point out that judging something as extraordinary is in itself expressing a bias. And to me, that's a big flaw in Carl Sagan's statement. Excuse me, I'm still getting over a little bronchial issue. Maybe it is and maybe it isn't. But most people would consider this claim extraordinary, this claim about a flyover of spaceships. There are human ETs living on a planet in the Pleiades. The planet is called Era, and it orbits the star that we know as Tegeta, the local name of which is Ashara. Now, I'm going here into what the claim is. It's just like an outline of the claim, right? That is behind this flyover or associated with it. And these Pleiadians are very interested in Earth and have been frequent visitors to our planet in recent decades. They have established a lasting relationship and regular contact with a Swiss farmer named Billy Meyer. Illy, I misprinted. Billy Meyer, for example. The humans from Era, who call themselves Erahil and Tal, those are their races, helped establish a defensive military organization called the Galactic Federation of Worlds. I use GFW for short, which has taken an interest in liberating Earth from the malign influence and intrusion of negative regressive ETs called the Sakaar reptilians and the Nebu Greys. There are other groups of reptilians and Greys who are non-problematic. So I'm more specific and I say Sakaar and Nebu. Why? Why are the Pleiadians interested in helping us to eject the Sakaar and Nebu from our planet? Because the alliance of those two species or races or ET groups, if you will, was an existential threat to the humans of Earth and our civilization, and we would not have been able to successfully address that threat without help. The GFW did not undertake a solo effort to rid Earth of the intruders, so they're not, in that sense, our saviors who intervened on our behalf. But they intervened to an extent by working with human groups in what has been termed the Earth Alliance, mainly consisting of military white hats, especially in the U.S. Navy. The GFW have served mainly as advisors in the Terran Freedom to the Terran Freedom fighters, but their assistance has been multi-pronged in nature. The GFW also are not the only group of ETs that has been assisting in the long and arduous war for the liberation of our planet. But they are the main focus of this particular claim. The GFW were chosen by a larger galactic alliance to work especially closely with the people of Earth because the human members of the GFW are physically so similar to us that they can and do walk among us. They mix freely with us and even interbreed with us. Some non-human species are also members of the GFW, so all of the GFW are not human, but the ones that interact with us generally are. Why? Well, because we're more comfortable with people who look like us, especially at this stage of our development. For good reasons that have been detailed extensively elsewhere, the GFW chose, as part of their process of working closely with the people of our world, a civilian emissary, Elena Danaan, a multi-talented person who is a former archaeologist as well as a practitioner of white magic and a druid, to convey their knowledge to an expanding group of ordinary Earth people. And Elena has been serving us regularly since the publication of her first book in 2020 as the singular emissary of the GFW. To ensure that their communications remain clear and pure, they do not communicate to and through anyone else. The claim of exclusivity is naturally controversial, as there are individuals and groups who want to share the spotlight. But the only ones, the only ones who can legitimately do so are contactees working with other ET groups, such as Alex Collier and certain others. Billy Meyer remains a special case. His Pleiadian contacts, although legitimate, have not represented the GFW as such. Some of them work with the GFW, but in what capacities we haven't been told. There also have been a few other minor exceptions, instances of physical contact and or brief messages relevant that have been relayed by GFW personnel, but regular detailed messaging comes exclusively through Elena. The whole story is very big and like an onion with many layers. I could go on rambling at length about it, but I wanted to lay it out in a relatively succinct and digestible way. And so let's say that what I've said so far is a condensed version of the extraordinary claim. Now, it is appropriate to ask, where is the extraordinary evidence to prove this claim, or at least lend it some credibility? And that is, of course, a more than fair question. You all know that I'm interested in remote viewing, and one might think that this whole story could easily be verified or kiboshed by remote viewers. I follow some of the best in the business, or in that whether it's a business or not, people who are participating in that activity. However, another aspect of the claim is that it cannot be verified in that way. The GFW specifically, and Elena and certain others among us who have had direct contact with GFW personnel, quote, cannot be remote viewed, period, end quote. There are protections in place for security reasons. Remember, I said the GFW is a military organization, and their science, including their their understanding of psychic processes and so on, is more advanced than ours. There are some human remote viewers that probably believe they can circumvent all resistance and deflection, but the GFW and others, such as Elena Danaan and Danny Henderson, are adamant that that is not the case. Anyone who thinks they have succeeded in remote viewing the GFW and their contacts has either seen something entirely innocuous and not especially relevant, a screen scenario, in other words, or has encountered, or has encountered a very convincing screen. Yeah. So what they have seen may be real. Maybe Danny's cooking in the kitchen, or Elena is working in the garden if she has one. I don't know. But they're not going to see anything that might compromise our friends upstairs. And, Danny and Elena can detect when they're being remote viewed, and if they don't want it, they'll reject it, and it can be painful for the person on the other end. So remote viewing is not going to provide evidence that the claim is true. To what else can we turn then? There are, in fact, many lines of evidence, and one who takes an open-minded interest will progressively discover a significant number of them, as I have done. But to circle back to the events mentioned at the beginning of this post, the flyover of September 27th, 2024, stands in and of itself as conclusive evidence, or that is my claim. That is my belief. Now, why do I say that? The flyover was arranged and agreed upon in advance by Elena Danaan and her contact in the high command of the GFW fleet that is now in the solar system. In fact, it's the flagship is orbiting the Earth, and it's cloaked. You can't see it. It's a giant thing, but it's effectively invisible. Excuse me. Now, you're familiar with cloaking. You watched Star Trek. There's a great deal in Star Trek that is representative of things that really exist, technologies that our galactic neighbors have. The fact that the flyover was expected to occur in the place on the date at the time designated was the reason why almost everyone at the conference, at that GSIC conference, was outside looking up at the time. It was a sky watching event. The time was set aside. We will go outside. We will look up. We will see what we see. And thus, there were 1,000 or so witnesses, dozens of whom have been willing to come forward and explain or talk about their experiences verbally in some detail. So talk about, write about, communicate verbally. Also to share videos and photographs in some cases. The anomalies seen by the people were not ordinary aircraft of any kind. They were not migrating birds. They were well above the cloud cover. In fact, they were above the Kármán line, 62 miles high. And they had to be because that area is patrolled by NORAD, and they wouldn't have been authorized to fly lower than 62 miles. The GFW are in contact with NORAD. They know the rules and they follow them. And there's regular communication. So people familiar with aircraft and birds have definitely verified that they weren't ordinary aircraft. They were not migrating birds. As Danny Henderson has rightly emphasized, they were not UFOs, unidentified flying objects. They were identified spacecraft, uncloaked GFW scout ships, flying over in formation, and basically a V formation, but it was an imperfect V, and they kept moving around. Oh. And this was according to the prior arrangement, friends. Let's see, I accidentally scrolled and lost my place. Let me find it again. I don't know how that happened. They were identified spacecraft, uncloaked GFW scout ships flying over in formation as per prior arrangement. And there is no other credible explanation. Now, if you think there might be one, watch the videos, see the photographs, and then tell me what you think they were. In addition to the GFW craft hurtling across the sky at hypersonic speeds above the 62-mile Kármán line, a U.S. Navy TR-3B, I wrote TR-2B, again, there are some typos in this, I might correct. Anyway, TR-3B triangular craft that uses anti-gravity propulsion was seen flying over lower and slower, which effectively demonstrated collaboration between the GFW and the Earth Alliance. So there was no direct communication with the U.S. Navy or anybody in the Earth Alliance saying, yeah, we want you to fly over too. But the Thor Han communicated with them or somebody in on his staff. And the Earth Alliance also agreed, evidently, to create a flyover. Now, there's a piece of information I didn't put in my write-up, which is that it was subsequently determined that the TR-3B probably came from Eglin Air Force Base, which I think is in the Florida Panhandle near Pensacola, if I recall correctly. Although this was again in Colorado, so that's okay. The TR-3Bs can fly very fast and very far. So doubters will do well, I think, to roll over, give up, and admit that the extraordinary claim has been proven conclusively by extraordinary evidence, QED. So I wrote there's a little more to the comment, but I also wrote some more down below. I said a critic might point out, and correctly so, that in the main post, or in other words, what I said above, I elaborated quite a bit on the extraordinary claim and the extraordinary evidence that I cited directly proves or supports only a small fraction of the material I elaborated. There's nothing in there about, proving that these guys come from the Pleiades, for example, right? Or that they're human looking or anything else. There was just a group of ships that flew over. But of course, there are connections. These are the people that Elena works with that she's met some of them face to face, some of them many times. They're human looking. Okay. And in fact, they are human. They're just extraterrestrial human. So anyway, I go on to say that is true, but I believe that the rest is indirectly proved in the following way. The basic integrity of the two principal characters, Elena Danaan and Thor Han, so Terran Pleiadian, is supported by the evidence. Additional evidence that I didn't cite also supports many individual revelations of the Galactic Federation via Elena. You can find that on a webpage written by Dan Willis that's linked to from the front page of elenadanaan.org. So what can be said of the many points, indeed the general fabric of intel due to Elena, Thor Han, and Elena's other trusted ET contacts? And not all of them are Pleiadian, by the way. Elena has presented the basic orientation toward truth by which she lives as a druid or as a human, right? It's a basic druidic value that evidently is very meaningful to her. It takes the form of an oath, which is, my actions will be guided by love, and my sword will be pulled only to defend the truth. My tongue will be clean and always speak the truth with clarity. My heart will be brave and faithfully serve the cause of truth. I am truth. In truth I stand, in truth I speak, in truth I serve. Now that's a very beautiful expression to me and very profound. And it's like standing up in court and saying, I solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. But it's not context bound like that. It's bound by the entire context of one's life. My personal experience with Elena has been completely consistent with her adherence to the attitude and commitment thus expressed. Thor Han, for his part, signs or seals his messages given through Elena in this manner, quote, High Commander Thorhan Eridion at service of truth, period, end quote. And for that matter, the relationship of mutual trust and regard, and indeed love between Elena and Thorhan also underscores his trustworthiness and integrity. In other words, the evidence for her integrity is immediately visible and voluminous. And if she says Thorhan is completely trustworthy, I, believe her and trust him as well. So the idea with which I feel comfortable running is that a little basic but potent and irrefutable proof of a few matters extends powerful credibility to the whole narrative as conveyed by the GFW and Elena. And that credibility extends to all of Elena's videos, interviews, and writings, including her website and her several books. And so let's go back, and there's another paragraph here and a few sentences. Referencing the Telegram commenter's statement about losing friends, I am not out to alienate anyone, but I choose truth over anyone and everyone who's resistant to it. If a difference of perception and opinion, and being an evangelist for the admonition, heed the obvious in actual practice, must separate me from others. Now, there's some irony in that, because the person from whom I learned the heed the obvious admonition doesn't heed the obvious when it comes to ETs, doesn't believe in benevolent ETs, doesn't believe that there's anything to be disclosed, etc., other than human-made craft of advanced technical design. Okay, fine. Some people just want to close their minds, put blinkers right here so they can't see anything that's too far to the right or the left. And that's their business. I'm not going to be bound by the same self-imposed restrictions, however. So as I go on to say, if some aren't ready to get on board, I won't beat them relentlessly with the facts, but with or without me, among many others, to point out the facts, draw attention to them, and discuss them. They do exist, and they won't go away. They will only be amplified and reconfirmed because it's planned that similar flyovers will be a regular feature of GSIC conferences going forward. The next one will be held in May in Sussex, UK, so prepare for the emergence of videos, photos, and discussions of that event. And to avoid repetition, I posted a link to a video that I hadn't previously shared, and it's on Rumble, and I'll post it in the description. And you could fast forward to 8 minutes or 10 minutes and 46 seconds if you prefer, because the actual video begins at 10:46, and there's a relatively minimal amount of contextual verbalization, talking, starting at 8 minutes that might be valuable to you. So I do urge you to watch that if you haven't seen one of those videos. All right, well, that was that subject, and then I'm going to conclude with a shorter one here. This is about Dana Kippel. Dana the Alien is her Instagram account. And you should pay attention to this woman. Look her up, Dana Kippel on YouTube, or Dana.thealien on Instagram. Well, I'm very fond of Dana. You could say I just love Dana. She's great. She's expanding my awareness and understanding very much, even without my having had time to do a deep dive into her material. Either or earlier, I saw a post on Facebook by Neil deGrasse Tyson about Hyundai's new internal combustion engine that has 100% clean emissions. And that, of course, is a significant improvement over legacy internal combustion engines and deserves due credit. But how does it compare with what Dana describes in this video, which is about Quantum Kinetics Corporation and their cold fusion solution. And you can look them up on YouTube as well, or look them up on the web and see what they're up to. Everyone, and I do mean everyone, will do well to start thinking bigger, much bigger, because advanced thinkers among us are leading the way forward to a better world and away from the evil nonsense to which we have become accustomed. Now, evil nonsense refers to suppression of so much natural human brilliance, occasionally assisted by NHI, according to many and varied accounts, and so many advanced ideas. Check this particular fairly short video by Dana that focuses on the legacy, problems, and the associated current opportunity and challenge. Oh, wait, no, that video is not by Dana. But anyway, I'll post it in the description for you. And of course, there's a saying, with great power comes great responsibility. So humanity is about to acquire a lot more power. Are we ready to handle the responsibility that comes with it? When the bad guys, black hats, deep state are removed, at least in the sense of being radically deposed from power, disempowered, I'm confident that the Terra-Who, that is, Terran humanity, will meet the challenge admirably. Because we are intrinsically good, are we not? There are some people in whom the intrinsic goodness has been overridden. And that's a story of trauma-based mind control. And in some cases, it occurs probably through the birth trauma. And people become sociopaths or psychopaths. They have a natural bent in that direction, and they choose to develop themselves that way. But I would make a second point here, other than the most of us really want the best, and we're trying to co-create the best. Second point, perhaps slightly humorous, I have a personal dictionary that has a few idiosyncratic entries. In that dictionary, the first definition for BS is evil nonsense. I probably won't use the contraction or acronym very often in public, but that's just so you'll know. In other words, I've notified you of the definition. And you know then that my usage is a pass-through of the literal meaning, the 8-letter word, to that definition, evil nonsense. But the main point here is Dana, and lots of things about Dana. And so she's posted a lot of videos from her Instagram account on Facebook. And if you scroll through the short videos on Facebook, you'll see her pop up talking about plasma, plasmoids. There's a video about dream telepathy. She talks about UAPs and so on. And she's bright and attractive. Yeah, she's a pretty lady, but it's mainly her mind. Boy, I love her mind. And she connects with me very, very potently, and she might do the same for you. So I recommend her. And if, if she's willing, I might interview her at some point. So we'll see how that works out. If it doesn't, it's okay. If it does, well, I'll try to make the best of it for her benefit and mine and yours. Make it an everybody wins situation. Okay, so that's all I have to share with you. And I'm back in the dark. So it's the middle of the day, but I have a dark room here, and sometimes I like to keep it dark for certain purposes. So I think I'll conclude on that note, friends. This is Sunday while I'm recording this, and I think next Saturday or Sunday I'll have another panel discussion. I'll host it, and my friends and I, whoever shows up, I'll invite several, and we can talk about things, what's on our minds, do our own weekly roundup like Michael Sala does. And, I mean, it's optional, of course, but I recommend watching Dr. Sala and some, not necessarily all, of the interviews that he does with experiencers and experts in the field of exopolitics. So I admire Dr. Sala a lot. He started out about 20 years ago developing an online business to bring information to the people, and it's my desire to do that as well. And I have my own unique spin. If you like it, you know, subscribe, follow me on YouTube, Facebook, Substack, Instagram's coming, um, X. I have an X account, but I don't use it, but I might start using it. So all of this will make sense and will be an acceptable use of my time when I can start monetizing. Now, you might be concerned about that. I'm a poor person. I don't have much money. Well, I think I'll follow Elena Danon's pattern or model. And she has a $1.99 a month membership to her channel. Well, that's very little money for me, but that's okay. Makes it affordable for you. And what I will do then is put some shorter and lighter content um, on the public channel, and there will be a members only section for more in-depth material. Right now, I'm giving away everything for free. What else is coming in the future? Well, written material, books, PDFs, and some of it will be actionable. It won't be just information. It'll be how can I blank? How can I develop my psionic abilities, as an example? I mean, I don't know that I will write about that or when I will, if I do, but that's just an example of the sort of thing that I might tackle. And uh, anyway, don't want to ramble on too much, but I'm giving you a little preview into my plans for the future. So thank you for your time and attention. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed. And use that bell icon to make sure you get as many notifications from me and my channel as you can handle. And as I said at the outset of this video, it's been a little while since I posted, but I'm going to make a schedule and post on a regular schedule videos and other material. And of course, when you're doing it on a regular schedule, life has a way of happening, when it rains, it pours manner. So the schedule is going to be subject to responding to the way life happens. I may have less to say during some periods than others. I'm sure that'll be true. But I'll try to adhere to something of a regular schedule. So that's it, folks. And I will talk to you at a later time. Bye for now.